Venezuela is condemning what it calls a military provocation by U.S. forces in the Caribbean after the Pentagon sent a U.S. carrier strike group to the region as part of a military exercise. It all follows the deadly strikes on at least 10 alleged drug boats since September, killing more than 40 people. Lawmakers from both parties are now asking a whole lot of questions.
So far, they have alleged that these people are drug dealers. No one said their name. No one said what evidence. No one said whether they're armed. And we've had no evidence presented. So at this point, I would call them extrajudicial killings.
The Trump administration insists these strikes are consistent with international law. Do you agree with that?
No, it's murder. It's very simple.
It's questionable. And the White House and the Department of Defense could not give us a logical explanation on how this is legal.
Joining us now, MSNBC senior national security reporter David Rohde and former deputy commander of U.S. European Command, Lieutenant General Steph Twitty. He's also an MSNBC military analyst. I want to play one more lawmaker reaction. David, this will be for you. This is Rand Paul talking about what the motivation might be with these strikes.
There is no fentanyl made in Venezuela, not just a little bit. There's none being made in Venezuela. These are outboard boats that, in order for them to get to Miami, would have to stop and refuel 20 times. They're in all likely going to Trinidad and Tobago.
So he's questioning the justification that they're killing drug traffickers. He's implying that it's not about the drugs. David, what do we know about what the administration might actually be doing with Venezuela?
Well, the president, it was very unusual, publicly announced that he had approved covert operations in Venezuela. And analysts say, and it seems to appear that they are trying to force President Maduro, the authoritarian leader of Venezuela, out of power. They might be hoping that members of the military or members of Maduro's inner circle will turn against him. Again, Maria Corina Machado, the opposition leader in Venezuela, she was not allowed to run for president in 2024. She was just awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. So there are huge problems with the regime there, but it's unclear how attacking these boats will actually cause regime change in Venezuela.
There are those out there that argue that maybe this is more about oil or rare earth minerals. Is there any validity to that sort of skepticism, David?
There could be. I mean, there's resources across the region, and that's one issue. But there is a serious drug problem in the United States. But again, the issue is fentanyl, which is primarily coming from Mexico. Colombia produces far more cocaine than Venezuela. And there was a recent story by Reuters, actually, that found that drug prosecutions, federal drug prosecutions, have dropped by 10% under the Trump administration because so many FBI agents have been pushed over to an immigration crackdown. So you have people in Latin America, and this is a decades-old debate, say the demand is coming from the U.S. That's half, at least, of the problem. So it's all a very complex dynamic.
So, General Twitty, if the United States wanted to provide evidence that these people that they're blowing up are drug traffickers, could they gather that evidence before they blow the boats up? Could they gather the evidence afterwards? Is there a way of going about this that doesn't require the destruction of both the evidence and the people on board?
Yeah, well, I think they have plenty of evidence. You know, we've studied this drug trade and drug war for quite some time. And in the past, at least when I was in the military, we did a lot of supporting of DHS in many of these missions, not actually pulling the trigger, exercising military operations like you're seeing here. And we had pretty good intelligence, not only on the movement of these drugs, but also inside Venezuela and Colombia and elsewhere, where the laboratories were, where they were stockpiling drugs and so forth in order to get them into the U.S. So there's pretty good intelligence out there.
Why haven't we seen it?
Well, I think the reason why is, you know, you got the Secretary of Defense as well as the president. They're holding their cards pretty close. And so if you think about it, Congress has not approved these operations. And so we are where we are, where you have pretty much the SecDef and the president running the show in this particular operation.
Is this an effective strategy, though? You heard Rand Paul question whether these boats are really threatening Americans, whether that's where the drugs are really coming in. He's talking about them having to refuel 20 times before they were to get here. And you just heard David Rode mention that the majority of the fentanyl comes in through Mexico. So how effective is it to blow up a few boats in the Caribbean?
Well, obviously, we need a comprehensive strategy, one that we all across the government can get behind. You know, it's not just about blowing up. It's also about using sanctions. It's also about using other means in order to get after this problem from a comprehensive look. You take a look at China and the fentanyl that's coming through with China, Mexico, Colombia, on and on and on. And so it just cannot be Venezuela. It's got to be a comprehensive look at all the drugs that are coming in the U.S., and it's got to be a whole of government approach, and Congress needs to get on board with this as well.
Lieutenant General Steph Twitty, good to have you. David Rode, you as well.